Hey everyone, this is Dr. Drizzle and welcome to our Muriqui Preserve virtual experience. My name is Dr. Drizzle, as I said, and these are my three little friends I have beside me and on my shoulder, but they're not the star of the show. The star of the show is kin to these guys. We're going to go ahead and start our presentation right now. This is going to be our agenda for the next 30 minutes or so, but we're going to introduce our guests. We're going to have some monkey research, a little STEM challenge. We're going to talk about the Muriqui Preserve and some questions and answers, and then a special call to action. So our most important guests here today are Rodrigo Abdalla, who is the Chief Marketing Officer and Conservationist at the Muriqui Preserve in Brazil. And then Dr. Karen Streier, who is a professor at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. So they're very important to this, but here are a couple of friends that we're also going to be learning about today. But I want to test your knowledge of monkeys. So I want you to look at this list. Teachers, I'll go ahead and apologize that I took this list off of the website, and evidently I spelled a few things wrong. So I will fix that when we send out the final deck. But kids, look at this for just a moment and see if you can tell us which monkey does not belong in the rainforest. So take just about 30 seconds, talk in your class, and then does anybody want to pop an answer into the chat window or on YouTube? I'm monitoring both. Which one do you think does not belong in the rainforest? See, some people are saying on YouTube and on our chat window, the snow monkeys. Well, we have a majority here, so I'm going to go ahead and say, yes, you are correct. But let's find out what is in the rainforest. So again, this is Dr. Karen Streier, who is a primatologist, an anthropologist, something else ologist, and just has a lot of ologies by her name. And we are excited to have her here. We're going to show a quick video of her doing a TED Talk, and then she's going to answer, or she's going to talk a little bit about her adventures in the Muriqui Preserve.
Thank you. I have had the most good fortune for the past 33 years to be studying one of the world's most amazing primates. They're called the Muriqui monkey, and they actually are found only in the Atlantic forest of southeastern Brazil. The Muriqui is the largest non-human New World primate. And you can see from their bodies, their beautifully long arms, their beautiful long legs, their prehensile tails make them perfectly suited for life in the trees. The Atlantic forest of Brazil is a completely separate ecosystem from the Amazon. And when people think about deforestation, when people think about endangered species, they often think about the risks of what will happen to the rest of the world. But in the Atlantic forest of southeastern Brazil, more than 90% of it has already been destroyed. So this is a place where we actually, this is a place where we've actually been struggling for figuring out what is happening to the Muriquis. And there are two species of Muriquis. I've been studying one of them, the northern Muriqui. Nothing was known about them at the time that I started my work. And this was actually one of their greatest attractions to me, because I was interested in understanding about the behavioral ecology of humans. And Muriqui has provided a really interesting and different comparative analysis, a comparative perspective, a little bit different from the other species that are more closely related to humans, like chimpanzees and bonobos, which we know are different from humans. And so Muriquis were going to give a model, a way to extend those questions out. And I couldn't do it myself. And so I've been working with a dedicated team of Brazilian students. There have been about 55 over the years. There are 4 Brazilian students in the forest in Brazil right now while we're talking. At least that's where they're supposed to be. They're all studying the monkeys, and many of them now have become colleagues. They've gone on to study monkeys and other primates in other parts of the world. It's really fantastic. And what they do, they spend an intensive period of training because we don't touch the animals in any way. We mark them with their natural markings. So we have to be able to recognize them as individuals. We have quite an extensive overlap of photo albums of all their individual characteristics. And this has given us a chance to follow them individually from infancy through adulthood. Bernardo's one of my favorite males. He's the only son of one of our oldest females. He's also the father of lots of the kids. The girls just love Bernardo. Now, this is not Bernardo's mom. This is another female, but she's one of my favorite females, Mona, because she was one of the first I could recognize. And I've caught her entire reproductive career. She's in probably close to 40 right now. Females take a long time to grow up, and they live a long time. They spend a lot of time taking care of their babies. They nurse them for about 9 months. They carry them around for the first 2 years of their life. They change their social behavior completely to be with their kids. They also won't advance. The kids take so long to grow up that they won't advance. And the mothers have to spend a lot of time carrying their kids and also helping their kids to develop as they're learning how to locomote through the trees. And they use their bodies as bridges to help their kids get through difficult tree crossings. These kids are really bright, and they've figured out that it's possible to actually get their mothers to help them through these difficult tree crossings, even when they don't need it.
So first of all, Karen, I'll let you go ahead and unmute your microphone, but I am so jealous that you get to live among these beautiful, beautiful creatures. Tell us a little bit about what we just heard, and then we'll look at another video.
Sure. Well, first of all, hi, everybody. It's really great to be here, and it's so exciting to talk to be here with especially with kids, because you guys are the people who are going to make all the difference in the world ultimately. But right now, I guess it's really fun for me to look at that talk that was given 5 years ago. So just to put you, to give you some perspective, some of the older animals in that film have died since that time, but we've got lots of new ones since then. And I think they mentioned something about 55 Brazilian students have worked on the project, and we now are up to about 77 students. So this is something for all of you to think about in the future. But the project has just been, I went to Brazil when I was just a new graduate student, just out of college, really. And I was interested in doing a study on animals that people knew very little bit about. And nobody at the time knew very much about the Muriqis. I was so lucky to be introduced to this forest, which you'll hear more about, this protected reserve that was protected by Rodrigo's family. And that is now one of the world's last remaining places where you can find these amazing monkeys. Well, so one of the most distinctive features about monkeys is how peaceful they are. And they're very different from almost all other primates because of the peacefulness of their society. Now, I don't know if you noticed, I'll try to show you this in the next video when I'll be able to talk you through it, that males and females are the same size. So that means that they have very equal kinds of relationships. And it also means that females are very independent. As an independent woman, I think that's a great trait in any primate. And they also live a really long time. We now know that Muriqis live into their 40s, which is a long time for most non-human primates. And that means they have a lot of time to learn and a lot of time to acquire new behaviors and change their behaviors and form interesting social lives. And so every year is a new adventure in studying these guys.
Well, that sounds a lot like kids, right? We have opportunities to keep learning and even into adulthood. I love the fact that these are such peaceful animals. And in this time in our world, peace sounds like a really great word to me. So Dr. Straub, we're going to let you continue to talk over this next video. So kids, you should be able to see in just a moment some footage of Brazil, this Muriqui Preserve. And this is actually on YouTube, but she's talking in Portuguese. So we figured she might want to talk, translate this for us. So Karen, we're getting ready to start the video and we'll let you take it away.
Okay. So this is my laboratory. Actually, you know, a lot of people think scientists work and wear white coats and go into an office and work in test tubes, but this is my laboratory. And as you can imagine, being able to go out into the forest is my lab. This was a production that was made for a Portuguese version of Women in Conservation. I was so privileged to be part of that program. And what it included a combination of following me in the forest and then interviewing me about the research. So you're going to get to see what my laboratory is like. This is one of the giant trees. It's a big fig tree, and it's a very important tree for the forest because of everything it does. The reserve has a dirt road that runs through the forest that made it really easy for me in the very beginning to find the monkeys because no one had really studied them before I got there. This reserve is like an island. And if you think of an island in the ocean, when you hear about forests and forest destruction, you think about the habitats have been fragmented, and habitat fragmentation basically turns these forests into islands. But one of the most exciting features is to stay with the monkeys. And when I was first getting started many years ago, it was all about getting them to trust me and allow me to follow them. And I always kept my distance. We never touched them. We made for their safety as well as for our own. But we can observe them and we can recognize them as individuals. You can see how graceful they are. Look at how they're using their tails like an extra hand. This is an unusual feature of some South American primates. We sometimes do scientific research non-invasively. Here's me and one of my students. We're collecting some fecal samples. And I know that sounds kind of stinky, but actually Muriqis eat a lot of cinnamon trees and leaves from the cinnamon family. And so their poop smells really good. It's very aromatic and kind of spicy. We've been able to do a lot of research on their genetics and their health and their reproductive lives just by collecting their poop. Here you can see some males and they're all very social. Their arms are all around each other. That's when we say that they're peaceful because they hug each other instead of fighting. And it makes them very unusual. There's a baby that takes about 3 years for them to become fully independent when they're really young. They have to learn how to get around just like people. They have to learn we have to learn how to walk. And the forest is a complex place. We are so lucky to have this forest be protected. And the Muriqis are so lucky because it's one of the last places in the world, in Brazil or anywhere in the world, that the Muriqis live. And I feel like I can't wait to go back.
We're excited too about you going back because we're hoping to join you on one of those trips in the near future just to experience what you've experienced. I especially like the idea of the cinnamon poop. So we've had a lot of YouTubers talking about the cinnamon poop. And I noticed that one of my friends, Rodney Krause, was giggling about that because boys will be boys, right? So they're always going to giggle. So let's go to our first STEM challenge. So kids, this is going to be something we're going to encourage you to do. We want you to be able to observe animals. We know that animals are going extinct right now, and this hasn't happened as much since the disappearance of the dinosaurs. So we're going to count on you, the students, to do some monitoring of animals that live in your area. We're going to call this the long sit, where we just want you to go out and sort of hide and observe an animal. Now, this needs to be non-invasive. We don't want you, jumping out and scaring them or picking them up. We just want you to be able to sit and look and write down or take pictures of everything you see. There is a website called iNaturalist. You can log into that with your teachers and upload your reflections and your photos, and then they will help you with identification, because Dr. Karen is out there working really hard with Rodrigo and all of her 75 researchers, but they're going to need your help, because this is a job you can have when you finish school, especially if you love animals. So remember, we want you to try to observe those animals in their natural habitat and then let us know what you see and observe. You will actually be in the career of what we call a phenologist. So a phenologist is someone who watches things over time and figures out the patterns, and that's what you guys are going to be able to do. So we're very excited about that. I am also excited to introduce our next guest. Karen, thank you so much for talking. You're not leaving anywhere, but we're just going to go ahead and introduce your counterpart. So this is Rodrigo Abdalla, and I met Rodrigo back in 2020 when I was working with an organization, and they said, you have to meet this guy. So he used to live in the States, and he worked in Silicon Valley. So he has a lot of knowledge of technology, but now he is doing something that is very near and dear to his heart. So Rodrigo, I'm going to let you start talking, and I'm going to hush and just run through some photos.
All right. Hello, everyone. I hope you guys are doing okay. I'm here in Brazil, São Paulo. It's summer right now, and it's an honor to share a little bit about myself and the work we are doing to preserve nature and the Muriqis. So as Daisha mentioned, I used to work at Google and live in Silicon Valley, which is basically near San Francisco, California. But I wanted to help the world to become a better place and protect nature. So I decided to leave my job at Google and help my family's nonprofit. And it's a family, it's a local, it's small nonprofit. It all started with my great-great-grandfather a long time ago. And at the time, he was one of the biggest coffee producers in Brazil. Brazil today is one of the largest producers of coffee. And when he bought this vast and big land, the previous owner mentioned that the land had a remarkable monkey, the Muriqui, and that needed protection from hunters and farmers. So that's what my great-great-grandfather did. He spent part of his life protecting the forest and the monkeys. And my goal is to continue what my family started almost 100 years ago, to protect nature. So my message to you is what, Karen mentioned, that every generation has a role to play, especially you kids. So no matter where you live, how old are you, and what you do, now Mother Nature needs your help more than ever. So that's a little bit about myself and the nonprofit.
That is fascinating. Thank you for sharing that. I'm just going to pop through a few pictures here. And if you just want to tell me, so this picture we see right here, Rodrigo, can you tell me a little bit about where this is and what it's used for?
Yeah, actually, I'm gonna, Karen, Dr. Karen is on that picture. So I'm gonna let her talk a little bit about where she was at the time and what she was thinking at the time also.
Sure. So we have a lookout tower that was constructed to be higher than the top of the trees at the top of a hill. And it's where sometimes visitors can climb it when they're accompanied by guides, and you get a view of the forest. This photo was taken with a drone that was flying overhead, and had basically gone up next to me from the ground all the way up, and then was soaring overhead. And you saw earlier a picture of the whole forest from the drone's point of view. But I was sitting up there just thinking about what a paradise this place is and how lucky the monkeys were to live there. And I was wishing one of them would show up, but they didn't come that day to the lookout tower. They were deeper in the forest where there were some good food trees.
Do you know how tall that tower is?
Oh gosh, it's probably about 30 meters, maybe more.
All right. So kids that live in the States, I want you to convert those 30 meters to feet. Remember everything that your fifth grade teacher taught you about measurement and see if you can convert that. So now we're going to actually ask kids to start thinking about questions that they may have about these amazing monkeys, about the jobs that you guys do, anything that you have. I have 2 questions already in the queue ready to go. So let me go ahead and ask those. And anybody else that has them can either drop it into the chat window, or you can just say, I'd like to talk, and I will unmute you. So one of the questions we have, and we'll just go now to us talking, and we'll take that picture off for just a second. One of the questions we have is, Dr. Karen, why in the world, what possessed you as a kid sitting in a classroom to do something like this? So just real quickly, what moved you there?
So when I was young, I did not come from a family that was really involved in nature. I just loved animals, and I loved being outside, and I loved science. And in college, I did everything I could that involved those 3 things. And then I got really lucky in college. I worked in a psychology laboratory. And after that, I decided I didn't want to work inside. I wanted to be outside. So I wrote a lot of letters to people who did research. And I began my field research studying baboons in Africa. That was my first field experience. I spent 6 months in Africa with baboons and decided that was outdoor animal research was what I wanted to do. And the Muriqis were really, I just got lucky because someone told me about them, and I saw some pictures of them. I saw a movie of them, and I thought they were amazing. So I went to Brazil, and as soon as I saw them, it was love at first sight.
All right. Well, here come the questions. So I'm just going to start yelling them out, and then Karen and Rodrigo, you can tag team on this one. So Brenda would like to know which monkey species eats the most in the forest.
The Muriqis eat the most amount of food. They're biggest because they're so big. They need a lot of food.
Perfect. Emerson, grade 4. How did these monkeys get their name?
It's an indigenous name from the Indians that lived in this region.
All right. Abby, 4th grade. What type of food do they eat besides cinnamon?
Well, they don't eat cinnamon per se. They eat leaves from the tree family that cinnamon belongs to. And they eat a lot of fruit. They eat flowers. But they're vegetarians, so they don't eat any insects or meat.
How big is the preserve?
Rodrigo, you want to answer that?
You're muted, Rodrigo.
Okay. It's about 1,000 hectares. Another challenge for the kids to convert, because in Brazil we use hectares, and I guess you guys use acres. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. So we'll have them do a little research on that. Marcella, 4th grade. How big are the monkeys?
They're about 5 feet tall, and they can weigh as much as 20 pounds.
Okay. Peyton, 4th grader, what is Brazil like? And then what do the monkeys do there during the day?
Well, what is Brazil like? That's a tough question. Brazil, it's located in South America. It's one of the biggest economies in South America. But I would say, if you think about, it's a little bit similar to the US, because we do have, it's a large country. We have cities with forests, rivers, And there are about 200 million people living here. And but we also have like big cities like New York, San Francisco. So we have a bit of both. And I can say there isn't snow in Brazil. So a lot of Brazilians, they have never seen any snow in their life. And that's something incredible that you guys have there.
Yes. So we are getting just bombarded with questions. So we'll tell you, if I don't get to your question, I'm giving this as homework to Dr. Karen and Rodrigo. So they have to answer all these questions and I'll send it back in an email. Piper, fourth grade, how old can the monkeys get?
We know they can live into their 40s.
Okay. And are they smart?
They're as smart as they need to be to find the food and to find mates and to navigate their habitat. But in terms like compared to humans, they're probably not as smart as us.
What college degree do you need? Destiny wants to know what she would have to go and study these animals.
In the US, you would probably want to study some combination of biology and maybe biological anthropology.
Do you study other animals like apes or gorillas?
I personally don't study them, but I have graduate students who study different primates all over the world as well. So my students in Wisconsin study different primates all over the world. And then I have the students in Brazil who study Muriqis and other primates there.
Do you know Jane Goodall? And if you do, they want to know, can you introduce them?
I do know Jane Goodall. I have a picture from Jane Goodall thanking me for all my work. But no, I don't know if I can introduce you unless we are at the same place together with Jane.
Excellent. So my goodness, they are coming in here. Very good. So we have several questions I'm going to combine into one. They're really worried about this endangered extinct process. How close are Muriqis from becoming extinct?
So that's a really important question. And I'm going to tell you that in terms of their numbers, they are in better shape today than they were 30 years ago. And a lot of that is because of the conservation efforts of people like Senor Feliciano, like Rodrigo's family, who protected this forest. But we still worry a lot about them because small populations that get isolated from one another are very vulnerable to disease and to inbreeding because they don't have enough new genes in their populations. So the Muriqis are still considered critically endangered, but they're probably in better, the prospects for them are good. And I think it's really important for kids to understand this. So if I can just take 1 minute to say, because you hear all this scary news in the world about how things are terrible, and things are really scary and we need to do something about them. But I can tell you that in your lifetime, in my lifetime, we've really helped change the status of the Muriqis. It is worth putting your life, making these goals and trying to achieve things, because in your lifetime, you can see a big difference. So these problems seem enormous, but they can be addressed and solved.
From YouTube, the YouTube chat, we have Mir Patel wants to know, Dr. Karen, what is your favorite monkey? And I think we're going to know the answer to this one.
My favorite monkey is a Muriqui.
And do you have a favorite one there? Like the name, can you name one that's just pretty special to you?
Well, I had two favorites. One was Mona, who you saw in one of the videos, but another is Louise. She was also one of the oldest females. And unfortunately, both of them died a few years ago. They lived really long, healthy, successful lives. And Mona's children are alive and adults. And so, they continue on. But those were definitely my favorite because I knew them the longest. I knew them for 38 years.
So they were your friends. Well, students, we've run out of time for Q&A, but I promise you, we will have those questions answered. Rodrigo and Karen are going to do that for homework. We're going to now go to our final STEM challenge. So let me speak to it. because this is where you're going to be able to try to do something to help these Muriqui monkeys. So it's great to talk about it, but it's going to be more important for us to actually try to do something. So here's the activity. We want you to collaborate with your friends or your family or your classroom and create something useful out of recyclable items and trash. Now, I'm going to change that a little bit. It could be like a landfill of stuff. You get aluminum cans and cardboard and egg cartons and build something, or you can take something that you find at home that you're not using anymore and turn that into treasure. Now, think about how you would put this together to make it look really nice, because we're going to challenge you to auction off those treasures and help Rodrigo and Dr. Karen save these monkeys, provide better opportunities for these monkeys. So Rodrigo, what is the call to action here?
All right. So the call to action, you guys gonna help us basically with our latest project, which is to plant trees. Because the more trees we plant, the bigger the forest gets, which means that we're gonna offer more food and land. More food and land will be available to the monkeys and other species. So that's very important. So for every dollar you donate, we will plant one tree. So $1 equals one tree. And we're gonna welcome any contribution. Our goal is to plant thousands and thousands of trees and build this big corridor of forest. So the Muriquis can go on and have more land and food. So that's our latest goal, and you guys are gonna help us with that.
Well, that's a wonderful goal. And I feel like we can really get some kids on board with this, because we have students that are real excited about doing stuff to work in the world. And if we tie this to the UN Sustainability Challenge, goal number 15 is life on land. So we're going to be working to help out these amazing creatures that teach us so much about themselves. And if you heard the video at the very beginning, these guys are huggers. And they like to do things to hug it out, to be peaceful. So we want to make sure, I'm going to, when I send the email back this afternoon to follow up and send you the link to this recording, I'm going to ask, I will send you the link to some more videos that you can use in your classroom, because we are running out of time. But want to just thank you so much for joining us today, Dr. Karen and Rodrigo. It has been an absolute joy to be with you again. We are excited that your story is now being told, but here's the good part. Now these kids can tell your story, and it could become part of their story if they want to get involved and do things. So you can reach out to me at engagingstem@gmail.com. I will get all the information from Rodrigo and Dr. Karen so that they can have ways for you to communicate with them too. But here's the important part. Rodrigo, can you tell them what may happen if they can help out with the this trash to treasure? Now, teachers, this is not a requirement of this virtual field trip. This is just something extra we're adding in case you want to be a part of it. So you want to show us something?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you guys manage to come up with something amazing, right? And, get donations over $300, we're gonna actually send you this beautiful book from the family nonprofit. It has like beautiful pictures. It has the story about the nonprofit, about the conservation that is happening in Brazil, and I hope you guys like it. So that's the challenge, and yeah, that's it.
That is perfect. And we appreciate that. Teachers, just to make this easier for you, if this is something you're interested in, if you want to send me pictures of what you've created, we can maybe put these on social media and auction them off to the highest bidder. But we'll let you be in charge of, if you decide to do any donations. You're going to see on the screen right here, bit.ly/Muriqui Preserve Help. And that's what we are asking you to do if you can. We also want to make sure that you're taking what you learned today and doing that in your own community. So wherever you live, take care of nature, take care of the animals, take care of each other, because we're all we've got and we need to be able to depend on each other. So Dr. Karen, thank you so much. Rodrigo, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And from all of us here, we say something in Portuguese. Karen, give us something in Portuguese. Rodrigo?
Why didn't we do it? The monkeys hug each other. And we always say goodbye to each other in Portuguese. We say abraços, which means hugs.
Yes.
Everyone?
Abraços.
So I'm giving you hugs here. And then Rodrigo, do you have something?
Yeah, muito obrigado. Muito obrigado means thank you so much. So, abraços and thank you so much. Obrigado.
All right. Thank you, guys. Thanks so much, and we'll see you soon, everyone.